Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back. It is 16 after 8 o'clock. We are now joined by attorney and community activist Yousha Tayob to look at the Athaan ruling and the appeal by the community of Isipingo Beach and surrounds. And this, I think this ruling and inshallah, the appeal, whatever happens thereafter, is going to set some sort of precedence here in South Africa regarding Adhan, because over time, you know, you kind of hear from time to time, if it's not, if it's not in the Western Cape, it's in KZN, Johannesburg, wherever wherever you are hearing residents in the area objecting to the call of the Adhan. So I think this appeal is going to set a very important precedence. So as Muslims, we should be truly making lots and lots of dua that the ruling does, is in our favor. But we're going to talk with Yousha Tayob. He's going to give us a history into this specific situation. And we are going to ask for guidance from uh, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this matter. And then also, where do we move to from here? Attorney Yousha Tayob, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the program.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you.
I must say that I was pretty surprised when I heard that the matter was going to appeal. I actually thought that it was done and dusted. I didn't realize that it was still an ongoing issue. How is it that we haven't heard about this before today? It just over the weekend, it seemed to have gained momentum.
Look, appeals take a long time to get to Bloemfontein, and I suppose the lockdown and everything have delayed things further. So the wheels of justice turn, but they turn very slowly. And so this matter has been ongoing since Elauri lodged his complaint. Initially got a judgment in his favor. We were then forced to bring an application for leave to appeal. We didn't get that, and we've now what is called petitioned the Bloemfontein Supreme Court of Appeal to re-adjudicate the matter, so to speak, and hopefully make a finding that's in accordance with what we say are the issues at hand.
Okay, give us an overview, a brief history as to how we got to this point regarding this matter involving this particular community and this particular masjid. It is the Madrasah Taalimuddeen based in Isipingo. I do remember this case very clearly. The other thing that also comes to mind is that a Hindu brother in that community truly supported the Muslim community. He subsequently sadly passed away, I think, during the time of COVID as well.
So the brief history of the matter is that a neighbor by the name of Elauri lodged a complaint against the Taalimuddeen Masjid for calling out the Adhan. And let's just understand, there's no amplification here. There's no speakers. It's simply voice and a voice call of the Athaan 5 times a day, and he's objecting to it. He says in his papers that he's of Hindu background. He clearly makes statements that he's a Muslim hater. He says in his papers that it's not a religion worthy of protection, a constitutional protection, and a whole host of other defamatory remarks, which clearly express an anti-Muslim sentiment. And the court in the initial hearing of the matter says that the test it's got to apply is the interference test, and once it establishes that Elauri shows an interference with the peaceful use of his property, he's entitled to the interdict and therefore granted the initial application. The MLA only got involved after the initial judgment had been pronounced, and Ashraf Parak was designated of the firm Abba Parak to deal with it for and on behalf of the MLA. And we then subsequently argued before the same judge why he was in, because the procedure requires you to go to the same judge who issued the judgment and to apply for what is called an application for leave to appeal against the decision on the basis that there are prospects that another court will find otherwise. And so that procedure then transpired, and the judge was of the view that his judgment was sound in law, in fact, and all of those good things, and he refused the application for leave to appeal. And subsequently, that was, I think, might have been mid 2021 date. I can't remember the date. Sorry, I don't have the dates in front of me.
No
But
worries.
we now in September 2022, and that's the date. So a lot of paperwork, a lot of preparatory work. Alawi is self-represented. We definitely think he's being assisted by a legal team because he certainly uses legal terminology that is not generally accessible to the public. But be that as it may, he's appeared in the court as a layperson, and we're now in the Supreme Court of Appeal for them to decide. So we say there are a number of legal issues that need to be taken into consideration, and not what is called the interference test. We say that the balancing test and the reasonable test, must apply. And so there are a number of issues that we're going to raise, including the anti-Muslim sentiment. He says that he recognizes the freedom of religion, but that the manifestations of religion must not be, and there are a number of judgments that say you can't have freedom of religion without the manifestations showing themselves. He's also gone on to say effectively that he doesn't recognize Islam as a proper religion, and it should not be given the recognition. So much so that he says that the words Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu sallallahu alaihi wasallam is not appropriate, because that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is not a prophet. So this is the extent to which he goes. But hopefully the court will see what it needs to see in regard to the nuisance issues and the neighbor law issues, and give an appropriate ruling.
I'm wondering about, you've clearly outlined that he does seem to be Islamophobic, outright Muslim hater. The Human Rights Commission has not gotten involved as yet in this case, and I'm wondering if they come on board, would that lend support to our case going forward?
Sure, loaded question. I'm not sure that I'm a human rights. I don't know that we've reported it. I don't know that anybody else has. But I mean, this is a pure neighbor issue. So let's just be very careful. I mean, I don't know that I'm a human rights. There may be rights that overlap with your rights as a Muslim, but I'm not truly a human rights. Because human rights recognizes the equality of men and women. Human rights recognizes the equalities of homosexuals. And so let's just be careful where the Muslim community is going with this human rights thing. It's gotten us into trouble before, so I'd be very wary. But I don't know. So that was not a question I was anticipating from you. It's a whole new debate. It's a scary debate, because as Muslims we need to understand Muslim rights and obligations. I think human rights is foreign to us.
Okay, I come from a position of in South Africa and the Constitution, where we do have freedom of religion, and because this person seems to be an outright Muslim hater, that's the position I'm taking here. Surely the Human Rights Commission could look into the matter. I'm not looking at all to the other issues that you've raised. That doesn't come into the picture at all. It has nothing to do with the subject at hand. I'm looking at it purely from the position of my human rights position as a Muslim, to practice as a Muslim, and as far as the manifestations of our religion is concerned, that we do listen out for the Athaan 5 times a day. It is a calling. It is also recorded in one of the hadith regarding a blind man I think where he was not sure that I think you know which hadith I am referring to here, where a blind man came to our beloved Nabi and wanted to know that if nobody has led me to the masjid, our Prophet then said to him that something to the effect, if you hear the adhan, you have no excuse. It is a reminder that it is time for you to go to the masjid and perform your salah. So that's the position I'm coming from regarding the Human Rights Commission issue. Yusha, are you still there?
We, I don't. Sorry, I'm not all on par with you with the issue. I'm simply saying that we certainly haven't approached the Human Rights Commission. The issue for us is that the court, in its initial hearing, applied the wrong test of interference, whereas it should have done what we call a balance and or reasonable test, reasonableness test. And so hopefully that will be adjudicated today. I'm definitely not involved in
Okay,
the human rights
okay.
referral of the matter.
Point taken, point taken. Let's understand what we can do, what we should be doing, and let's look at the outcomes of a positive and then a negative. Let's hope and pray it doesn't come to the negative outcome, but how we should be preparing ourselves as a Muslim Ummah here in South Africa.
Yeah, look, I mean, the point quite simply is that this is not the only masjid in Isipingo, and there is another masjid, and there are no complaints whatsoever. So the agenda of Elaudi is clearly very different to that of the community in Isipingo, and I suppose in very many other communities around South Africa that have grown up with the Athaan, with Mandir, with the bells, with whatever has happened. So, it's a religiously diverse community. And I think Alaudi's got a completely different agenda. And having engaged with him previously, there does seem to be an agenda beyond Alaudi where he's being assisted not only by professionals, but certainly there seems to be more at play than just this nuisance law interdict application before the court. So it's not a matter of positive or negative. I think that most communities have welcomed it. So most communities, I mean, many years ago, I was also involved on a similar issue in River Lee, where the community, in fact, came out and said, this is part of our history. We've heard these sounds. We may not understand what they are. We've learned that it's called the Athaan in Muslim called prayer and whatever. We don't know its meaning. But it's been part of our community for many years. And then we eventually ended up doing audio tests for residential neighborhoods and part industrial neighborhoods. And so you're now going to have these audio tests conducted in areas that complain, and the Athaan needs to fall within a certain decibel count. But in the one that I was directly involved in with River Lee, the community came out, and the bulk of them were not Muslim, in support of it. And we eventually showed that there was a railway line in the area that caused substantially more noise in the area and more regularly, and a school bell every 40 minutes. So it's going to go to the science as to what is acceptable and not acceptable, and depending on the definition and zoning of a particular residential or industrial or commercial or whatever area. So it may end up there, but I think it's going to largely depend on which communities want to make a noise about it. And so even in Isipingo, we seem to have one complainant out of many. And the fact is, he has the right to approach a court, but he certainly has an agenda beyond nuisance law. So he's being naughty. And ideally, we'd like to find the people who are behind him, because we think there's an agenda beyond amplification of the Athaan that might well be bigger, considering his anti-Muslim sentiment in the matter. So yeah, there are bigger issues at play, but we'll have to deal with them as we go.
How I hear your other phone ringing in the background. Um, how do we move forward as a Muslim community on this issue? Because obviously, this is going to set a precedence going forward. The outcome of the appeal is going to set a precedence.
No. I don't think it sets a precedent. It's a neighbor law issue regarding interference and whether the court applied the right test. I mean, there is no amplification from Taalimuddeen. There are no speakers. It's purely voice. So even this, I don't think is going to change. It's one issue regarding neighbor law, and what may happen is you may have a wave of people who now go and complain, and
Mm,
we're going to deal with it. And that's why I'm saying to you, you're going to have to do decibel counts. But as you read in Isipingo, you had the non-Muslim community rally around it like you did in Reveille. And I mean, I was in Malaysia a few weeks ago, and there was the singing over the mandir in an area, and that's perfectly acceptable to everybody around it. Uh, so I think, and that's what I'm saying to you. I don't know that it's precedent setting. I think there's an alternative agenda here. I think Aloud is being funded by someone, and I hope that the Hindutva is not in their minds already, and they've been pushing that agenda because it's going to be problematic in this country if that agenda is being pushed, and Lauri certainly seems to be doing it in his papers.
can you outline the agenda in a little more detail, or are you not very sure yourself what
No,
the
I'm
agenda
happy to
might
say it.
be?
I mean, no, I'm happy to say it. I mean,
Yeah.
he says quite clearly, I find the Islamic religion offensive,
Ah, okay.
manifestations not deserving of constitutional protection. He says that. It's in papers. So I mean, I don't know how much more clearer it gets, but I mean, these are the things he says in his papers. I find the
Outright hate speech, Yusha.
well, I
Outright
don't.
hate speech.
Yeah, I'm not going that route, but I'm simply saying to you, this is the words he uses. He says, and he's worried about, and he in fact uses it, and he says that he's worried about this Adhan being attractive to Muslims and lots of Muslims attracted to the area. And somewhere in his papers, and while I'm talking to you, I'm trying to find it, he talks about a Taliban enclave in Isipingo.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean,
Oh, yeah, I
the
see where you're
agenda's
going with
clearly there.
this.
The agenda's clearly there.
Okay. Okay.
Uh,
I hear where you're
uh,
going with it.
yeah, let me just looking at it as we um I'm saying could call to prayer. I mean this is what he says. He is firmly of the opinion that Muhammad was not a messenger of God, and therefore finds objectionable the following line from the Muslim call to prayer, that it is broadcast from mosque. I bear witness that the Prophet of the Muslim religion is the messenger of God. Um, He proceeds to state our country should not be catering for people who have dubious respect for the Constitution. I don't know, the overriding concern is when he says it's a false religion, shouldn't be accorded any respect. So, yeah, I don't know
Worrying
how.
indeed. Very worrisome. I wasn't aware of all of that
I'm
statement in
happy to
particular.
share the
So
papers with you. Happy
it
to share
is
the papers.
very worrying indeed. Yusha, how do we move? Let's make dua, inshallah, collectively that the ruling is in the Muslim community's favor. How do we move forward?
Well, so the judgment will hopefully come out. Well, I'm not expecting an answer today. I mean, Supreme Court of Appeal is known for some delays, but when it comes out, it comes out. The point, quite simply, is that the interdict that he applied for remains. So the masjid is prohibited from giving adhan currently. I don't know where to from here. I mean, in essence, the law talks about decibel counts in residential and industrial. Each one has its own audio zoning, and one has
Mm,
to do this testing. But I mean, the difficulty, is that noises are being made in other areas, and we're not. Uh, we know that amplification is strictly unnecessary. But the point, quite simply, is that it's been accepted by these communities all over the years, and hopefully still will be. Because I mean, if one were to be in Indonesia at any Athaan time, it's just you hear it all over, and the mandir and other bells and other things. So there's been a mutual respect all these years. Clearly, Alauri's been instructed to stir the pot, and in stirring the pot, I think it's just a provocation, and we're going to have to wait and see how communities react, including the Muslim community.
okay, attorney Yousha Tayob, attorney and community activist, talking to us about the Athaan ruling of the Taalimuddeen Masjid in Isipingo Beach, and we will have to await the obviously the judgment on that. It has gone to appeal, so hopefully we will talk to you maybe in a couple of days' time. Thank you indeed for your time, and do ask that it all goes well, that the ruling is in the Muslim community's favor, inshallah. Shukran and salamu alaikum to you.
Wassalamu wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
8:37 a.m. exactly. Standing by to talk to us is Zainul Abidin Kaji from OCAV, South Africa, and also Professor Muhammad Haroon about the Congress on Islamic Civilization. Do stand by. This is News and Views right here on Salam Media.
Rejuvenating